All right, I'm back with This Week at Tassi, my weekly news roundup. I was maybe going to do another Borderlands, another Destiny video, and then I'm like, oh shit, it's Friday. Yeah, so we can still talk about that stuff, but I'm recording this like 10 minutes after this giant record long Nintendo Direct ended. As you may know, I am like not the biggest Nintendo person. I had a Switch. I played maybe, I don't know, 8 games on the Switch over its lifespan, the big ones, but I don't have a Switch 2. I don't really plan on getting one, but big news story. There is at least one announcement that I'm very excited about because it does not necessarily have to do with Nintendo. That is the launch date for Hades 2, the official 1.0 actual release version after all this early access testing. I did do one of the early access things that just like stopped the story, which, I mean, I love the game, but that was somewhat frustrating. Like, I get that's how it works, but whatever. That is coming out in less than 2 weeks on September 25th, which, God help us. I probably am still going to be playing Borderlands by then. Ghost of Yotai is around then. I don't know the exact date, but yeah, I don't have time for this. I want to get to all this stuff eventually. Hades may have to wait a little bit, or Ghost of Yotai. Ghost of Tsushima was my game of the year, whatever year that was, or Hades. That wasn't the same year as Hades, was it? I don't know. They were both my game of the year in whatever years they were. If they're in the same year, they're tied. So I'm very excited for both of those. So we'll see what happens. But also, I really love Borderlands. The next announcement, which I care less about, but I know this is a really big deal, is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Now finally has a release date of December 4th, which is not that far away. This is after years and years of no information and then an announcement that the whole thing was being rebooted. It was shown off in March, and now it has an actual release date, and we'll see how it does. They are making a Mario Galaxy movie that is the sequel to the $1.3 billion earning Super Mario Brothers movie. That is the record for any video game movie's earnings of all time, so that is clearly going to be a big deal. That is coming out in 2026. What they say, April? I can't remember, but not that long into 2026. It will be 3 years after the first one. I mean, I'll see it. Got to see these super high-profile video game movies. And then some other things. They announced Pokemon Pokopia. Should it be Poketopia? You play as Ditto, and it's like Animal Crossing, and you make like a Pokemon house landscape thing. So, okay, have fun with that. There's a Danganronpa 2 remake that I know a lot of people are very excited about. People who played Danganronpa 2 originally, who is not me. Don't yell at me. I don't know. I can't play everything. Fire Emblem Fortunes is coming. And what is certainly the most bizarre part of this is Nintendo announced a Virtual Boy, sort of, where it's like a flashback to the original Virtual Boy, where it's something where you can like put the Switch in a fake Virtual Boy and then use that to play old Virtual Boy games. Why? What? I don't know why Nintendo bothers with stuff like this. I mean, Nintendo made a goddamn alarm clock. So, I mean, this is, maybe a top 10 list of weird things, but certainly nowhere near the top. The Virtual Boy sold terribly poorly when it was released, and I doubt, other than like, I don't know, almost fake nostalgia, anyone really cares about this, but Nintendo's gonna Nintendo, and they just do random shit all the time. So here we are. So that's, there's more stuff than Nintendo Direct, but that probably deserves its own video, which I will not be making because, again, I don't care that much about Nintendo. I do care about the Borderlands launch. The Borderlands 4 is out as of yesterday. I was playing it for a week-ish before that, with as much time as I could manage. I posted my video review yesterday, but now we have some kind of additional information about how it's launching. It's ended up with an 84 Metacritic score, which is solid. It's higher than Borderlands 3 in the pre-sequel. It is tied with Borderlands 1, and it is lower than the 89 of Borderlands 2, which, I mean, was it going to beat Borderlands 2? I don't know. Probably not. It had like at least 200,000 concurrents on Steam alone. I think that's like double the previous records set by Borderlands there. and Borderlands 3 went on to sell 20 million copies by itself, I think. So that, this certainly could be on the road to that. The big problem is performance, and the game is heavily reviewing negatively on Steam because, especially on PC, there are many performance issues. This has been all over the place for me, where I went through 2 builds and multiple patches during the review period, where at one point my game was bricked for an entire day. It wouldn't load. I literally had to, on launch day, to switch from the press build to the normal build. I had to talk to Gearbox to get them to fix my registry, which has somehow been corrupted by all this. And then there was at least 1 or 2 more patches since the game's been live in the last 24 hours or 36 hours or whatever it is. And now we've ended up at a point where it's running kind of fine. I mean, it's certainly not like amazing, but it's probably the best I've seen it running so far. Fewer crashes, still some crashes, which is annoying. But no, it's not great. Console performance I'm not exactly sure, but I got into this big debate online about how much performance and tech stuff should be factored into like review score. And luckily I'm not into a review score, but it's a weird, complicated issue because some people may have issues, some people don't. It may depend on your hardware. It depends when on your review is published and how many patches have gone in. So like the base stuff of the game and like what the game is, I think is not something that fundamentally changes outside of, balance patches or whatever. But I find it hard to review a game and then significantly impact the score with some sort of technical thing. Like, I don't know, I remember the story about IGN where the reviewer, his copy did what I did and his just like stopped working in the review period. And he thought that he should just give it a 4 because like he played a little bit and then couldn't play the rest, where like obviously that was not something that happened to other people. It did not happen at launch. And then he had to like revise the score later, but that the 4 stayed on Metacritic because that's how Metacritic works. I think it's complicated. I think it's people are like, oh, journalists are being dishonest about this. And I don't think that's what's happening here. I just think it's a complicated situation, and over the next week we're going to see all these up and down patches, and it's running differently for almost everybody. Albeit, yes, it is not the most optimized, which is not the biggest shock for a Unreal 5 Borderlands game. That said, I think the game's awesome. I'm seeing a lot of positive sentiment online of people who are playing and getting past the tech issues. I've seen almost exclusively positive sentiment. Maybe that's my little internet bubble, but good to see. I will be playing this for a while, certainly over Destiny for the indefinite future, which of course leads to the next story. The launch of Ash and Iron this week in Destiny has been an utter disaster. On the technical side, I've lost track of everything that was broken, but one core thing was that the power grinds was all messed up, where you weren't getting the proper power increases from the portal, and there's a bunch of broken weapons, like positively and negatively. Sturm has made damage obsolete with the amount of damage you can do through unintended boosts from that. Bungie just did an emergency patch last night to like buff some of the power gains and buff some of the ways to get an A rank so you don't have to put as many trash modifiers on things. They're going to increase fire team ops stuff later. One problem with Ash and Iron is that the new activity just sucks. Reclaim is not remotely fun. It is in the Plague Lands, which are now gray and dead and boring, and you cannot patrol them. You cannot do any of the old activities. There is no Siva anywhere. There are no Siva Fallen anywhere. That storyline is apparently over unless they sneak it into the dungeon or exotic mission or whatever. But the environment is bad. The activity itself is very bad. It's a much worse version of something like Nether or one of these like fill up the bar, do little mini missions, places, but all of those are bad. It's like wait 3 waves to do something and then do a surprisingly annoyingly complicated boss mechanic that is not difficult at its core, but difficult to do with randoms. And the loot for all of this is not worth it. Things are very, very bad right now. And like you've said this a million times, but like things are really unraveling. And this is also at like a really inopportune time because Destiny Rising is launched and people are really liking that. A lot of Destiny people are moving over to that, or at least have, for their streaming and their creation and stuff like that. And now they're doing that with Borderlands 4, which I think Borderlands 4 will make even more of an impact. I've talked to a lot of Destiny people who are like, should I play this if I like Destiny? My answer is unequivocally yes. I mean, it's certainly way different, but if you want to go back to an actual power climb and loot chase that feels good and makes you feel powerful, and in this case, the story is actually, better than it's been. The open world is pretty good. Just performance. Performance is the main problem here, but I think over the next week or two, we're really going to start seeing some heavy drop-offs. Yesterday's peak was equivalent to some of the low peaks before Edge of Fate even launched, and this is after the quote-unquote major update. Not good. Also not good, Nintendo has filed for a new patent. Nintendo and its eternal love for patents. Evie, what are you doing? She's making herself a blanket bed. The patent here it's complicated, but it essentially involves summoning monsters and battling monsters. The language here is very complicated. It's like if you see a roaming enemy and you spawn your thing and then you go after that enemy, but then also if you spawn a thing and it just follows you around instead of seeking out an enemy, you have to do 6 steps in a row to break this patent, but it still sounds like a lot of potential games that have summoning or qualify for it. This is obviously in the wake of Nintendo filing all these patents and throwing them all at Palworld, to the point where Palworld has had to do dumb stuff like you can't glide with your pals anymore. You can't summon your pals with a ball. They just have to appear next to you. If we're working towards summoning and battling monsters, Jesus Christ, Nintendo, you cannot go this far. I mean, maybe legally you can, but this is the worst behavior in the industry. And this is from super happy friendly Nintendo, and they've been doing this for a long time. And we've seen this with other companies with the Nemesis system being owned, so it's a really cool mechanic that no one else can use, and they put it in Wonder Woman games that get canceled. I don't know how far this will escalate. Just trying to patent everything about summoning and battling or moving in that direction is nuts. So I don't know how far they can get doing this, but it is certainly a huge disappointment to see Nintendo continually do this. And I really feel for Palworld, who's just trying to make a fun alternative to Pokemon that's also a survival game where also you can shoot Pokemon with assault rifles. The only thing was some of their designs seem like maybe they were ripoffs, but that's never been actually something that Nintendo's gone after. It's just these stupid patents. So we'll see what happens with Palworld if this affects them again. But yeah. Fifth story, we'll get a little more lighthearted here. Keanu Reeves was asked if he would return to Cyberpunk for the sequel, and he seemed very excited about saying yes. We know that the sequel is not going to be about V. We are going to be in Night City, and then a second city that I am almost positive is Chicago. In the lore, that city is quarantined because of, I think, a virus or something, and it's kind of a bunch of lawless gangs. So it's kind of in contrast to the shiny, futuristic Night City, which obviously, has seedy parts and whatever, but Chicago sounds like it's going to be more of the Division. The point being is we'd have to do, a little canon etching and lore stuff to somehow summon Johnny Silverhand again, where it seems like his story is kind of over. This obviously, how he would appear depends on if CDPR would pick a canon ending for the game. There's one where he kind of walks into the ether with Alt and leaves V to exist and die. And, Cyberpunk spoilers from 5 years ago. And then there's another where he takes possession of V's body and lives out. Does that cure V? I don't remember if that cures V, but he becomes V. There's a few of these. They would sort of have to pick one. I don't imagine he would be a major part of the story again, but I love how eager Keanu Reeves is to always be involved in Cyberpunk. He's jumped in for new recording and stuff like that before, and I mean everybody loves Keanu Reeves. He's awesome. So I mean, they usually talk about what I'm playing. I'm playing Borderlands, obviously. Trying to find time is tighter than it used to be, but I'm finding as much time as I can to play that. I am still just on my main character here, Rafa, and I am going to play with all 4 characters because that's what I always do in Borderlands. There is a campaign skip that will help with that, so I don't have to do this, I mean, a 50-hour campaign if you're doing any of the side stuff. Again, with different characters 3 times. You remember when you used to have to beat it like multiple times to get to like the good difficulty level and had to do that on all the characters? Like, God, that was nuts. Thankfully, we're out of that era. So I'll do some more Borderlands stuff. I will cover Destiny disaster stuff. Maybe I'll do some Hades stuff. Maybe I'll do some Ghost of Yotai stuff. I don't have a code for Yotai. I didn't ask for one. Not that I have time to play it anyway. Maybe that's me dropping the ball, but I can't do all this. With Forbes Games, it's like I'm one of maybe 2 people actively doing game stuff all the time, and I can't compete with a whole website or YouTube teams and things like that by myself. So I do what I can, and what I can is playing a lot of Borderlands right now. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.